Hey guys, today in the shop we're going to be installing an 11 to 16 four-wheel drive Superduty air dam on the shop truck. So 05 to 07 trucks is all the same bumper, and I've heard it works. I've never actually done it myself, so let's see what we can do. So this air dam comes factory on the 11 to 16 Super Duties, 250, 350, 450, 550, and its original intention was to help increase fuel economy. And let's face it, right now that is a pretty good thing. So even if you just want to do this to help bump up your fuel economy a little bit, these definitely work. There's a bunch of other videos, people that have tested them on all different trucks, and they do help increase fuel economy. Another great benefit of an air dam, especially with us using this thing on the track, is it helps decrease the turbulence underneath the truck, and it helps reduce lift, which the more lift you have, the less traction you have. So with the reduced lift, we'll have better traction, and hopefully that should help us a little bit. Another benefit, it just looks awesome. Especially with this truck being lowered, it's gonna kind of take up that gap a little bit in the front. I think it's gonna look really sweet. We're definitely going to have to watch out for parking curbs after we put this thing on, but I think it's going to be worth it. So I'm going to pull the bumper off. You probably don't have to pull the bumper off of this thing to do this. I know that some of the holes line up, some of them don't. Like I said, I've never really done this before, so we're gonna go on this journey together and we'll figure it out. So to pull the bumpers off of these trucks, as long as you don't have fog lights. If you have fog lights, you got to make sure those are unplugged first, but there's going to be two brackets on the outside of the bumper that go to the frame, and then the 4 bolts on the front frame horns. This truck doesn't have the brackets. It definitely went on a diet at one point, and the brackets on the outside are gone, and obviously I have no fog lights, so let's just remove these 4 bolts. Keep in mind, this bumper is a little heavy. It's not terrible, but there's nothing holding it up once you take those bolts off, so be prepared. Hold it by the middle, hold it by the bottom. If you have a friend around or a couple of friends, sometimes that's even better, especially something with fresh paint, you don't want to scratch it up. So get a good grip on it, be ready for it to drop down when you take the bolts off, and start taking it apart. So first things first, we got to take off this factory kind of lower Valance air dam type of thing. Doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot, but what's holding it on is these little clips right here. And basically what you do is you just pop the center out, and as you pop the center out, you can pull the whole clip off. And you can do it with a pair of needle nose pliers or trim panel tools if you have them, but they come out pretty easy. They might give you a little bit of a fight, but there's clips all along, so get them over here, just go right along and pop all those clips right out, and then the bottom lower valance there should come right off it. All right, So now that we have that other original lower valance off, we can start fitting this up. And you'll see right off the bat, it just does not line up barely with anything. There's one bolt in the center that kind of lines up, but you'll see this flange all the way along is a little bit far out, and it hits all the metal on the bumper. So first thing I'm going to do is try to get this one center bolt lined up. And to do that, I'm just going to have to go along and just trim off all the plastic that sticks out farther than these little J-clips. So let's start with that and slowly inch our way in and see what happens. All right, so I finally got this thing trimmed up and kind of fitting decent on there. It doesn't look great right now because it's not bolted on, but I had to take a significant amount of this thing off. So what I found is the two outermost bolts line up kind of in the holes where the those brackets that go from the bumper to the frame. So if you take one of those bolts out, you should be able to get a bolt through and use the factory clips on the lower valance and kind of get that to all line up. Aside from that, there's really no bolts on this thing that actually line up and fit good. So you're just gonna have to make new bolt holes through it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start in the center. I know that this is where I want it in the middle. I'm gonna get a hole drilled through the lower valance, and then I'm gonna reuse one of the clips, one of the little J nuts that came with the new valance. Kind of get that on. I'm going to snug it up just for now temporarily, and then I'm going to bend the bumper into place and see which bolt holes I can get to line up, which ones I have to drill new ones for, and then kind of do the same. Just use the J nuts that came with it because, as you can see, there's going to be some extras because you trimmed them off. So don't be afraid to trim this thing. I like using tin snips because it's not noisy, it's not messy. But if you want, you can use a cutoff wheel. Like anything with this, it is not meant to fit on here. The curve doesn't match the factory bumper, so it's going to take some trimming, it's going to take some bending. I wouldn't be surprised if once this is all said and done, I need to kind of use a heat gun and kind of reshape a little bit these little pointy parts right here. But I think overall it's going to be worth it. And worst case scenario, if I hate it, I didn't destroy the bumper. This lower valance was only like $100, so I can just throw the factory one back on. But let's get some holes in this thing and try to get it bolted back on. All right, so I got this thing all bolted on. The only thing that you're gonna need is a couple of M6 bolts. The bolts I got are about 25, 30 millimeters long, and they're M6 by 1, and some decent sized washers to kind of make sure those bolts don't pull through the hole. Aside from that, your valance or air dam, whatever you want to call it, should come with the bolts and with the clips, but I'm not totally happy with the way it looks right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt it onto the truck and I'm going to see how it looks. If it really doesn't look good, I'll maybe try to unbolt just the valance back off now that I have all the holes drilled, or maybe what I'll do is just try to do it right on the truck, but I'm going to take a heat gun and just try to form that stuff into place nice and carefully. You don't want to go too crazy, but overall, this thing ended up fitting pretty good. Quite a bit of trimming in the back, so don't be afraid of that. Just go nice and slow, and basically, the back of the bumper is flush with the back of this air dam. So I'm going to spin this bumper around, get it bolted back up, see how it looks, and then assess if we need to take a heat gun to that these little corners right here. All right, well, I don't know, you guys tell me. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, my only concern is speed bumps and parking curbs, but I mean, I think it looks awesome. There's definitely still a tiny, tiny gap in those corners, and I'm gonna mess around with the heat gun a little bit and, you know, maybe try to get another bolt in there, or maybe even like a pop rivet or something. But aside from that, it's on there pretty solid. I'm not worried about it going anywhere. There's all bolts in there with factory style clips, and it's retained pretty good. So, I mean, this kind of went from a didn't really know what I was going to be up against to a maybe I'm helping you guys figure out how to do this, to turn into a little bit more than I expected, a little more trimming. But I definitely think, I mean, anybody with a little bit of mechanical sense can get this done in their driveway. If you can, I would recommend taking the bumper off. It definitely made it easier for me. I can't see trying to drill that and line everything up with it on the truck unless you got a four-wheel drive truck and you have plenty of room. I mean, obviously, this thing's pretty low. I could have put it on jack stands, got a little room, but I think we made out all right. So let me know. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about it. And if you guys want to see more of this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Click that bell if you want to get notifications. I know sometimes even if you're subscribing, you don't get notifications that I uploaded. So you don't want to miss what we got coming up. Unfortunately, we found major bad news on this that ended up turning into some pretty good news. And we got some videos going over all that coming up soon. But as always, guys, thanks for watching In the Shop.